This July, your neighbors may walk past your yard and stop for a second look. Not because you spent more money than they did, not because you worked every weekend until your back hurt, but because you made one smart decision in May, while most people were still guessing what to plant. The right perennials do not just bloom once and disappear. They return year after year. They spread. They fill empty spaces. They divide into free plants. And if you choose the right ones now, your yard can look fuller, brighter, and more alive before summer reaches its peak. May matters because the soil is warm enough for roots to grow, but the harshest summer heat has not arrived yet. That gives perennials time to settle in, anchor themselves, and build strength before July and August test everything in the garden. So let's start with plant number 1, Creeping Phlox. If you have a slope, a stone wall, a bare edge along a walkway, or a patch of ground that always looks unfinished, Creeping Phlox may be the plant you have been missing. In spring, it forms a low carpet of color, pink, white, lavender, purple, and magenta, spreading across the ground like a living blanket. On a slope, it can look like a waterfall made of flowers. Along a path, it softens hard edges. Over a wall, it spills down beautifully without needing constant attention. Creeping Phlox is especially valuable because it solves a real garden problem. Many yards have places that are hard to mow, hard to plant, and easy to ignore. This plant turns those awkward areas into one of the most eye-catching parts of the landscape. Plant it in full sun to light shade, and make sure the soil drains well. Once it finishes blooming, give it a light trim. That quick cut keeps the plant dense, prevents the center from becoming woody, and helps it come back stronger the next season. Now plant number 2, Daylily. If Creeping Phlox is the colorful carpet, Daylily is the reliable engine of the summer garden. Daylilies are famous for surviving where many prettier, fussier plants fail. They tolerate heat, cold, ordinary soil, and imperfect gardeners. They are the kind of plant you can put in the ground and trust to keep showing up. The color range is enormous: orange, yellow, burgundy, peach, cream, purple, red, and two-tone flowers that look almost painted. If you plant early, mid-season, and late-blooming varieties together, you can stretch the flower show across much of the summer. And here is where daylilies become more than just pretty. Mature clumps can be divided every few years. One plant can turn into several. That means you are not just buying a flower. You are buying future plants for other corners of your yard. Mass-planted daylilies also shade the soil beneath them, helping reduce weeds once the clumps fill in. A bare, messy strip beside a fence or driveway can become a strong, colorful border with very little maintenance. But there is one serious warning: daylilies can be extremely dangerous to cats. If cats roam your garden, skip this plant or place it only where they cannot reach it. 2 plants in, and you already have one solution for bare ground and one long-lasting summer performer. And we are just getting started. Plant number 3 is Bee Balm. If you have never watched a hummingbird hover just a few feet from your face, this is one of the plants that can make that moment happen. Bee Balm, also known as Monarda, has bold, unusual flowers that look almost like little fireworks. You can find it in red, pink, purple, and white, but the bright red varieties are especially powerful for attracting hummingbirds. The flowers are tubular, which makes them a perfect feeding shape for long-beaked pollinators. But Bee Balm is not only for hummingbirds. Bees, butterflies, and other beneficial insects visit it constantly. If your garden feels quiet, empty, or lifeless, this plant brings movement back into it. Suddenly, the flower bed is not just decoration, it becomes a living system. There is another surprise. Bee Balm belongs to the mint family. Its leaves are aromatic, and some gardeners use them for tea. So you are not only planting color, you are planting fragrance, wildlife value, and a useful herb all in one. Bee Balm spreads by underground rhizomes, so give it space. In 2 or 3 seasons, one small planting can become a full, impressive patch. Choose mildew-resistant varieties when possible, because older Bee Balm can sometimes struggle with powdery mildew in humid areas. Plant it where it gets good airflow, and it will reward you with a dramatic summer show. Plant number 4 is Black-Eyed Susan. This is one of those plants people drive past on roadsides for years without realizing how valuable it is in a home garden. Black-Eyed Susan brings golden yellow petals, dark centers, and a strong, cheerful look that fits almost anywhere. The reason it deserves a place in your yard is simple. It blooms when many other plants start looking tired. By mid to late summer, some gardens begin to fade. The early flowers are gone. The heat has stressed the beds, and the color disappears. Black-eyed Susan steps in right at that moment. A strong variety like Goldsturm can bloom from summer into fall, giving you weeks of bright color with very little effort. It spreads slowly through the roots and can also reseed, which means your planting can become larger and fuller over time. And do not rush to cut it down in fall. The seed heads feed birds like goldfinches and chickadees through the colder months. That means the plant is still useful long after the flowers fade. It gives you color first, then wildlife support later. Plant number 5 is Yarrow. If you have dry, poor, rocky, stubborn soil, Yarrow may be one of the smartest plants you can choose. Some plants need rich compost, careful watering, and constant attention. Yarrow is the opposite. Give it too much pampering, and it may become weak and floppy. Give it lean, dry soil, and it often performs better. Yarrow produces flat clusters of flowers in white, yellow, pink, coral, and red. Its fern-like foliage has a strong scent, which helps make it less attractive to deer and rabbits. That alone makes it valuable in many American yards. But the real power of Yarrow is what it does for the whole garden. Its flowers attract beneficial insects like hoverflies, lacewings, and tiny parasitic wasps. These insects help control pests such as aphids and other soft-body bugs that damage your plants. So while Yarrow looks calm and delicate, it is actually working like a natural defense system. It also spreads and divides easily. After a few years, one clump can become several new plants. That means you can use Yarrow to fill bare areas, strengthen weak borders, and create more garden for almost no money. So far, we have color for slopes, summer power from Daylilies, hummingbirds from Bee Balm, late-season gold from Black-eyed Susan, and a tough problem solver in Yarrow. And the next plant may be the answer if deer have been treating your garden like a free buffet. Plant number 6 is Catmint. If deer have turned your garden into their personal breakfast bar, Catmint may be one of the smartest plants you can put in the ground this May. Catmint, especially varieties like Walker's Low, brings soft lavender blue flowers over silvery green foliage. It has that relaxed, flowing shape that makes a border look professional even when you did not hire a designer. It spills gently over pathways, softens driveway edges, and fills the front of flower beds without looking stiff or forced. But the beauty is only part of the story. Catmint has aromatic foliage, and that scent is one reason deer usually leave it alone. Instead of spraying repellent every few weeks and hoping rain does not wash it away, you're growing a plant that protects itself. It is not magic, and no plant is deer-proof in every situation, but Catmint is one of the most dependable choices for gardens with deer pressure. It is also excellent for pollinators. Bees work the flowers constantly, and because Catmint blooms for a long period, it helps keep your garden alive with movement. Here's the simple trick. After the first wave of flowers fades, cut the plant back by about half. It may look harsh for a moment, but give it a little time. It will push out fresh growth and often produce a second strong bloom later in the season. Plant number 7 is Hardy Geranium, also called cranesbill. And no, this is not the red annual geranium you see in supermarket displays every spring. That plant is actually a pelargonium, and in many colder zones, it dies when frost arrives. Hardy Geranium is different. This is a true perennial. It comes back, it spreads, it fills space, and once you understand how useful it is, you start seeing why experienced gardeners quietly use it everywhere. Hardy Geranium forms low mounds of attractive foliage with flowers in shades of soft pink, rose, purple, blue, or white, depending on the variety. It works beautifully at the front of borders, under shrubs, along paths, or in those half-shaded places where many plants struggle. One of its greatest strengths is dry shade. That is the difficult area under large trees where roots steal moisture and sunlight is limited. Many plants fail there. Hardy Geranium often handles it better than almost anything else with this much beauty. After the first bloom, shear it back. Within a few weeks, fresh foliage appears, and in many gardens, you may get another round of flowers. It is low maintenance, useful, and far more valuable than most beginners realize. Plant number 8 is Garden Phlox. This is the plant you smell before you fully notice it. On a still summer evening, when the air is warm and the garden is quiet, Garden Phlox can send fragrance across the yard. It is one of those old-fashioned perennials that has stayed popular for a reason. It gives height, color, and scent at the exact moment many gardens need a second wind. Garden phlox produces large clusters of flowers in pink, white, lavender, purple, red, and beautiful two-toned combinations. It blooms in mid to late summer, after many spring flowers have already finished. That timing makes it incredibly useful. It carries the garden forward instead of letting the whole landscape fade too early. The main issue people worry about is powdery mildew, but that problem can be reduced dramatically by choosing resistant varieties, giving plants good airflow, and watering at the base instead of soaking the leaves from above. Garden phlox also makes a wonderful cut flower. Bring a few stems indoors and one vase can fill a room with fragrance for days. So now your May planting plan has expanded again. Catmint for deer resistance and pollinators, Hardy Geranium for difficult edges and dry shade, and Garden phlox for height, fragrance, and late summer color. And next, we move into 3 plants that can completely change the end of the season: Goldenrod, Lamb's Ear, and New England Aster. Plant number 9 is Goldenrod. For years, millions of people blamed Goldenrod for fall allergies, but Goldenrod was never the real problem. The real culprit is usually ragweed, which blooms around the same time. Ragweed releases light, wind-carried pollen that moves through the air and triggers allergies. Goldenrod pollen is heavier and sticky. It is carried mostly by insects, not by wind. That means Goldenrod has been unfairly accused simply because it blooms at the wrong time, next to the real troublemaker. And that mistake has kept one of the most valuable native plants out of too many home gardens. Goldenrod brings bold yellow color in late summer and fall, right when many gardens begin to fade. A variety like fireworks has arching stems that spray outward with tiny golden flowers, almost like sparks frozen in the air. It does not look ordinary. It looks dramatic, natural, and alive. But the beauty is only half the reason to plant it. Goldenrod is one of the best late-season plants for pollinators. Bees, butterflies, beetles, and other beneficial insects use it when many other flowers have already finished. In a garden that supports wildlife, Goldenrod is not a filler plant. It is a foundation plant. Give it room if you want a naturalized area. In a tighter border, divide it every few years to keep it controlled and vigorous. Either way, it gives you late color, ecological value, and more free plants over time. Plant number 10 is Lamb's Ear. This plant does something most flowers cannot do. It makes people reach down and touch it. The leaves are soft, silver, and covered in fine woolly hairs. Children notice it immediately. Adults notice it too. Even people who do not care about gardening will stop and feel the leaves because the texture is so unusual. But Lamb's Ear is more than a novelty plant. That silver foliage is incredibly useful in design. It makes purple flowers look deeper, pink flowers look softer, and red flowers look stronger. It works like a visual amplifier for everything planted around it. If your border feels messy or disconnected, Lamb's Ear can act like a ribbon that ties the whole planting together. The same fuzzy leaf surface that makes it beautiful also helps it handle dry conditions. Those tiny hairs reduce moisture loss from the leaves, which is why Lamb's Ear can perform well in hot, dry weather once established. It spreads by surface stems, slowly filling gaps and suppressing weeds as the foliage thickens. Use it along pathways in front of taller perennials, or as a soft silver ground cover between stronger colors. Plant number 11 is New England Aster. This is the plant that saves the garden in fall. By September and October, many summer flowers are tired. Some have stopped blooming completely. The garden begins to look brown, thin, and ready to shut down. Then New England Aster explodes with color. The flowers look like small daisies, usually in rich purple, lavender, pink, or white with golden centers. Against the warm browns and yellows of autumn, those colors look even more intense. And this plant is not just beautiful. It is deeply important for late-season pollinators, especially monarch butterflies preparing for migration. When nectar sources become scarce, asters can become a critical feeding station. There is one simple trick for a better plant. Pinch it back in late spring or early summer. Cutting the stems back encourages branching, creates a fuller shape, and helps prevent flopping later. Skip that step, and the plant may grow tall and open. Do it, and you get a dense mound covered in fall flowers. Goldenrod gives you late-season gold. Lamb's ear gives you silver texture and design power. New England aster gives you one final burst of life when the garden needs it most. And now that all 11 plants are on the table, the next question is simple. Why does planting them in May make such a difference? Now, you might be wondering, if these perennials are so tough, why does May matter so much? Why not plant them in June, July, or whenever you finally have a free weekend? Because the most important work happens underground before you ever see the results above ground. In May, across many growing regions, the soil is usually warm enough for perennial roots to grow actively, but the most stressful summer heat has not arrived yet. That gives your plants a valuable window of time. They can settle in, expand their roots, and build strength before the long, hot days of summer demand everything from them. When you plant too late, the plant has to do two difficult jobs at once. It has to establish roots in hot, dry soil while also trying to support leaves, stems, and flowers above ground. That split energy can slow everything down. The plant may survive, but it may not perform the way it could have if it had been planted earlier. That is why May is not just a gardening suggestion, it is a timing advantage. But before you put any of these plants in the ground, remember 3 rules. Rule number 1, fix drainage first. Poor drainage can kill strong perennials faster than almost anything else. Before planting, dig a hole about 1 foot deep and fill it with water. If the water sits there too long and refuses to drain, you have a problem. Improve the soil with compost, loosen compacted areas, or raise the planting bed before you spend money on plants. Rule number 2, use division like free money. Many of the plants on this list can be divided every few years. That means one healthy clump can become 3, 5, or even more new plants. Every division is a future border, a fuller bed, or a gift for another gardener. Once you own a strong perennial, do not keep buying the same plant again and again. Let the plant multiply for you. Rule number 3, leave some seed heads standing. In fall, many gardeners want to cut everything down and make the yard look clean. But those seed heads feed birds. They shelter beneficial insects. They allow some plants to reseed naturally. A garden that is left a little more alive in winter often comes back stronger in spring. So here is the real plan. Plant Creeping Phlox for bare slopes, Daylilies for reliable summer color, Bee Balm for hummingbirds, Black-eyed Susan for golden late-season blooms, Yarrow for dry, difficult soil, Catmint for deer resistance, Hardy Geranium for tricky edges and dry shade, Garden Phlox for fragrance, Goldenrod for pollinators, Lamb's ear for silver texture, and New England aster for one final explosion of fall color. That is not just a list of plants, that is a strategy. A strategy for a yard that fills in instead of thinning out. A strategy for spending less money over time. A strategy for creating a garden that becomes more beautiful, more useful, and more alive every season. So if you are going to plant something this May, do not just grab whatever looks good at the nursery for one weekend. Choose plants that come back. Choose plants that spread. Choose plants that feed pollinators, cover bare ground, fight weeds, divide into free plants, and reward you year after year. This is your garden. This is your season. May is open right now. Go plant something that pays you back.